You are listening to the 312 Squadron podcast. My name is Nick Sperry.
And I'm Andrew Kuba.
I'm a guest host, I guess. Alex Merrill.
Alex, thanks so much for being with us. I'm excited to have you on. I had your co-host Matt Corser on quite a while ago now, and we got a couple of the Bespin Benchwarmers here. So, Alex, you are I feel like you are the host of the Bespin Benchwarmers podcast. I want everyone to check them out. We'll link in the description as well. But is that correct? Is that an apt thing to say?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of made it, and I talk the most, so I think by
There you
default I'm
go.
the host at this point.
By default, you're the host.
There you go.
Yeah, we got Alex on today to talk about Scum. We've alluded to Scum and kind of joked about Scum a lot, but I think it's important to talk about the seventh faction in the game that I think people sometimes write off or forget about. And Alex is a special guest, not only because he plays Scum a lot, but he has won a Worlds invite with Scum, which obviously in this meta is not easy to do, and I think is impressive and cool to talk to him about.
I was going to say, couldn't think of anyone better to come and talk about Scum on the show.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I won a couple Star Champs with that list. It's super fun.
Before we go into talking about X-Wing, so how was your guys' weekend? Any highlights? Anything fun to talk about? Anything to brag about?
I can go first on this one. I got a behind-the-scenes tour of the Field Museum's aviary division. And I got that because my mom and I volunteer with an organization called the Chicago Collision Bird Monitors. So we go around the city and we rescue injured birds, or we collect, unfortunately, birds that are killed when they hit buildings and windows during their migratory routes. We're also working with them and the Audubon Society to do things like make the McCormick Place have bird safe glass, or to just turn off lights or close their blinds. Same thing with hotels at night, so that migratory birds don't hit the windows and die. So as a thank you for the Field Museum, though, because we do deliver the specimens there, they stuff them, they catalog them, and they record genetic differences with the birds. They track migration patterns. They count the number that they receive for migration data, and all of that. Even though the birds unfortunately passed on, the data that they can collect from that helps them learn more about the environment, migratory bird routes, and the birds themselves, and changes to their environment, diet, things like that. So as a thank you for part of our volunteer work, they invite us every year to give us a behind the scenes tour of everything that they're working on and all of the information they were able to get from the birds that we've turned in.
And I feel bad. I was just gonna say I saw
Jesus.
Dude.
Yeah.
I saw Dude. I didn't do that. Wow, that's cool.
I'm reading the book. I'm going to see it when I'm done.
Yeah, we did. Alex and I probably didn't do anything remotely close to that. So I don't. We didn't do that. Alex, did you do that? I didn't do that.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, Andrew. Shout out to you for that. I'm
Maybe I should have
riffing
gone
off
last.
of that.
I didn't even think about that.
I actually think
thought,
it's funny that you went first. I think it's better that you went first.
I thought that because we were kind of talking before we started the show about what Alex is doing. So I was like, well, Alex has got something cool and relevant to the podcast that, I know we can talk about that, and that would be cool. I can get my thing out of the way.
Wow. Alex, what did you do?
Oh boy, how do I follow that up? I went to 3 pre-releases for Star Wars Unlimited and hosted one.
That is a big game right now, isn't it?
That's cool.
It's like the Helldivers of card games.
Yeah, it's a lot better game than it has any right to be, honestly.
That's awesome. That makes me excited to hear there's a new Star Wars game that's really fun that everyone's excited about. I don't play card games. It looks cool though.
This is the first card game I'm getting into, and it's pretty fun.
I was gonna say it sounds really neat. Like I have a history playing Magic the Gathering, so there's some elements of it that are similar. Like you use resources up from your hand, but it has like you were telling me it has like the really cool base and like leader mechanics. So your deck always kind of has a theme.
Yeah. Like your deck is the color of your leader and the color of the base, and that's kind of the cards that you can bring without incurring some sort of penalty.
Yeah.
And
so what were some of the cool decks that you saw over the weekend?
Well, it was all sealed. So basically they give you 6 packs and tell you to make a deck out of it. So if you happen to get like a legendary, like Ryan Staniszewski did, sitting right next to me, pulls a hyperfoil Luke. You make a really good deck with Luke in it. I managed to get a Vader, and that was really cool.
That's cool.
So I over the course of those 3 tournaments, though, I basically played every style of deck just between what I had.
That's awesome. Did you ever get to play with Vader though? Because
I
that's going
did
to be some of the okay, good. Because
in
that's some of
every
the
game.
that's awesome. Because yeah,
Yeah,
that's some of the issues with sealed decks. Is sometimes you can open a really cool deck, but then nothing else goes with it, or a cool card, and nothing else goes with it in your deck.
yeah. I just like I'm building this deck around Vader because Vader's really good. So
Nice.
You are listening to the official podcast of Star Wars Unlimited, the card game, brought to you by
Hey,
everyone at
Alex. I
Squadron.
mean, I can definitely get into this if we want to do a spin off.
Yeah,
hey, I went
the Alex
undefeated
Merrill,
the
Andrew
whole
Kuba
weekend.
podcast.
For what it's worth, I went undefeated the whole weekend. So
Damn, Alex, Jesus, okay,
right?
good for you.
That's incredible.
That's great. See, that's something that might actually trump Andrew doing all that amazing work with birds. That might be just more impressive somehow.
I just thought that this was more relevant to Star Wars and the podcast
Well,
that we all
I
love
did.
more.
To be fair, I did ask what you guys did this weekend, and we're not only ever playing X-Wing, so I
And
think it's
I'm
fine. I'm
not.
just giving you
Oh
shit
yeah,
as always.
I'm not always doing the bird thing.
You're all yeah. You live and breathe the bird thing. Clearly, nothing else in your life. Only birds. only birds. Speaking of birds, Scum. See, this is the
they
same
have
thing.
hawks.
They have hawks, which is a type of bird. So that was nice, Alex.
Well,
I
I was gonna say,
appreciate
Nick,
that.
yeah, and I didn't know if you wanted to talk about your weekend.
Oh, I saw Dune.
Nice. How'd
I
you
got
like
nothing
it?
else going on in my life. Dune Part 2 is an epic that is going to make a lot of money, that a lot of people are going to say amazing things about. It is going to go down as probably one of the most exciting, entertaining, and impressive cinematic displays in the last 20 years.
That's incredible.
It's very good. Anybody that anybody that hasn't seen the first one should definitely watch the first one and then follow up with this one. It's going to be in theaters probably for another like 6 weeks at least.
Yeah,
It's one of the best movies that I've seen next to like Oppenheimer and
that's
stuff because we've had
wow. That's
a good year,
huge.
a good year for movies last year, and we're off to a good start I think so far this year. Yeah, no, Denis Villeneuve is if you look at his filmography, I'm a pretentious cinema fan. He has a really successful resume of movies that are critically acclaimed, and he has a very great eye for making a good movie and telling a good story, and adapting, in this case, adapting a good one. So yeah, I think you'll be very happy if you go and see it. It's one movie that I think you kind of have to see in a movie theater, and if you don't see it in a movie theater, you need to buy a surround sound system to watch it at home because it's just that good. So
That's cool. That's really great. I was hoping that it was going to continue the trajectory and be as good. I would also
yeah,
say one thing that's in everyone's mind: did you get the popcorn bucket?
Matt Gibson, one of our locals, did. I did not. I heard a rumor that it was like $40, and
What?
Jeez.
I think it was closer to like 30.
Okay.
Um,
Oh no.
and it has a very so I Matt let me like check his out because he like after the movie he obviously brought it with him, and it's really funny because like the spores or whatever you call it in the mouth of the worm, like the
Yeah.
popcorn bucket, are really rigid. It's like a firm rubber.
Oh.
So that if you were to like actually use it to eat popcorn, you wouldn't actually be able to like get popcorn out of your bucket because it just pulls back and like drops all the popcorn. It's really hard to get
Oh
your. It's like
no.
it's so it was very impractical, and I think it was really all for show. And I don't know how that got approved because you can't actually eat popcorn with it. It's really funny.
Yeah, that's really disappointing. Also, at the price point, like I would pay $6 for it, but wow, that's a shame. Because I thought it would actually help with the eating the popcorn. I didn't know it would be like as rigid of a rubber, where it would
Yeah.
be light enough where like it would prevent you from spilling popcorn everywhere in the theater as you like pulled it
Yeah,
out.
it has
So
no
it's not.
practical use. Even the cast of Dune, was talking about it, and Zendaya was like, "You can't even actually get your popcorn out of your bucket because it just drops all the popcorn when you try to pull it out." It's
That's
really funny. The whole
awful.
cast.
Oh,
Josh Brolin said he'd rather starve, which that was really funny,
wow.
than use the popcorn
Okay.
bucket. So
All
yeah,
right. Well,
it's good stuff. It's very
I
funny.
I no longer have that much FOMO about it. All right.
You definitely did not miss
Good to
out.
know.
buddy, for sure.
I'm
Huge
having
faith.
more FOMO now. I want that. The thing's useless. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
it's great. Yeah,
It's like
yeah. I
Scum.
mean, oh, it's a great segue. So, Alex, that's great. We have plenty of time for me to rant about Dune. You know, we have a separate podcast for that.
That's
But
right.
Alex, entered Store Champ season, played a lot of it, playing Scum, and you had you had a list that you built that had a lot of success for you, and obviously enough success to get a Worlds invite. We'll start with just the list if you want to break it down, and then I'll kind of ask you a few questions. Andrew and I will talk about maybe the
Yeah.
why and the how. So if you want to just start with the list itself, I'll show our viewers that are watching on Twitch the Yasby link here. Go for
So
it.
this is going to be like the jankiest list you'll ever see.
It's
Very
Scum.
scum, purist scum. So my only I5 and my ace is Lima Kai with Plasma Torps and R4B11. R4B11 is such an underrated droid. It allows you to spend an orange or a red token on your opponent to reroll any number of their green dice. And then Plasma Torps are just a valuable torpedo, and Lima is 3 points.
Yeah.
You will notice a theme of removing orange or red tokens in this list. That's kind of the whole point. So up next is Cad Bane. He's got marksmanship, proton cannons, contraband, cybernetics, the title, and Latsrazi. Latsrazi allows you to pull a stress from your opponent to change one of your dice to an evade. I've also played basically CLT Jedi since they came out, so bullseyeing things at a lower initiative is totally fine for me. I don't have problems ever getting their proton cannons off. Up next is Bosk. Marksmanship, expert handling. It's just a 2-point filler ship.
Yep.
And I use them actually to target lock a lot because that's a red token and I need those red tokens.
Fair.
Yeah. Up next is Manaru. The best 5 points I'm going to say you can spend in Scum. She just hits so hard. This has expert handling because I played 1.0 and I know how to run a bump master. And it's got contraband, Gar Saxton, the title, and R5P8. Gar Saxton lets you pull a red token or an orange token to roll an extra die up to a maximum of 4.
For attack die, yeah.
Yeah. And last one is Afra, my girl. She has 000 in order to force people either to give me calculate tokens or take stress. I've got Lando, so I can reroll probably my reinforce token, but also my calculate token if they choose to give it to me. Reroll the 2 dice by spending green token. I got Dengar Gunner. Basically, when someone shoots me, I can use Dengar and roll a die. Well, they can either spend a green token or let me roll a die. On a hit crit, they take 1 damage. And I can re-roll that with Lando, because Lando is just after rolling dice instead of rolling attack or defense dice, which makes no sense. And
Just like Han in that way.
Yeah.
then I got Dead Man, because a lot of people huddle around her. And then Babu Frick, who is incredible, and it is a great anti-jam tech. Because they're not going to jam off your reinforce, because you can just throw it on Babu. And you can stop multiple turns in a row and still reinforce. So it's a whole list of a bunch of shenanigans and red token passing and generation.
How often are you using Manaru's ability and like Cad's ability, right? Cad's ability is after you perform an attack that hits, you may spend a charge, which is of 2 charges that are recurring to transfer one of your non-lock red or orange tokens to the defender. How often are you using those 2 abilities? We'll start with Cad and then I'll read Manaru's.
Yeah, so I reposition with Cad almost every turn just to line up that bullseye with proton cannons. So I am constantly stressed. So anytime I hit people, I love to transfer that stress over because that facilitates Manaru. Actually, if they're lower initiative to me, I can then spend that stress that I gave them to flip a die to an evade. I've done that against like Jags typically.
Yeah.
But yeah, just passing stress is really, really good in this list.
Oh, for sure. Reminds me of like Palpatine crew, separatists, right? In the sense that you can like throw stress on people
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to you attacking. Or actually, I think Palpatine is when you defend. But either way, it's that mechanic of during the engagement throwing stress on people.
It's strong.
I've
Is
like
strong.
double stressed Hans before too for doing that.
Oh man.
So like sometimes I don't even have to pull the stress, just double stress something.
Manaru's ability is at the start of the engagement phase. You may choose a friendly ship at range 0 to 1. If you do, transfer all green tokens assigned to you to that ship? How often are you using Mandaru's ability, do you think?
Uh, Much more rarely than like Cad Bane. I use
Mhm.
it if Manaru doesn't have a shot, like in the opening engagement. I'll pass like a focus off to Afra,
Yeah,
or if I'm not getting shot at.
seems like good anti-jam tech. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I've unfortunately just witnessed when things in this list don't go right for you because of Crossroads,
just
just because
twice.
you happen to play on stream just twice. But I believe in I see everything and how it can unfold. How easy is it for things to fall apart? Like if Cat, for example, if Cad Bane's ability doesn't happen, do things already start falling apart there, or like where do you think things break down for you? Because it seems very contingent, right, on certain things happening.
Well, I try to put in a lot, as like as much redundancy as I can, right? Like I don't have to always re-roll my reinforce with Lando. I can pass it off with Afra's ability. Spend the green token, give someone near me a stress, and then that could facilitate Manaru because they're both the same initiative. It's just most actually this list just suffers in chance. Um, Much less so now that they've tweaked things, but it's mostly just in chance. They take half damage and they give out half points, and that's kind of what kills the list because generally they're just so bulky and like
Yeah,
you have to
you
invest too much
fortress your
resources to
points.
kill Afra.
Yeah, right.
So that's and actually what ends up stalling the list is a chance, which is both the games you watch me play on stream.
Oh, I'm sorry, Alex.
Now it's fine. It is what it is.
Don't everybody don't go back and watch those games. Watch
But
every other
there's,
Crossroads game unless Alex Merrill is playing. Don't watch those.
I mean, it's still hard to find a list that's like really good at every scenario.
Yeah, well,
Well,
chance is good, just not against something like Han or like
triple arcs
no. Oh my god, I love triple arcs.
on chance.
I kill an arc
Okay.
every round with this list.
Yeah, I was
Yeah, I mean they are
especially with
still
the
one
lower
agility.
initiative, and then it, like you said,
Yeah,
with Cad Bane, it makes it even harder to kill your list.
And they generate their own strain tokens, which I
Yep.
use to hit harder. No, I kill an arc every turn with this list. I kill T70s every turn with this list. It's just really like mostly it's like that Han list. If they have like really high agility and I can't crack it,
yeah,
or sometimes it's just getting really weird with like rack and stuff.
And
yeah.
some of the Aesir Empire lists too, maybe.
Yes, but
Yeah, I don't know.
those
Large bases with big firing arcs is still pretty scary for Imperialists, I would think.
yeah, like Afra and Manaru still do a lot of work against them, especially if they
Yeah,
get stressed,
Oh
which
yeah.
is not what they want to do.
yeah. I would say that the biggest. I mean, this is goes for anything and everything, I guess, but especially this list where things could really break down is just like being lower initiative is how many opportunities does RNG have an opportunity to land crits into the hull of Manaru and Afra? Like very likely that you could be taking blinded pilots, um, or weapons failures, stuff
Yeah,
like that. Again, the damage deck can be very punishing in any game for anybody, but one of the reasons why the stock on high initiative pilots is so high is because you're less likely to suffer from the effects or the penalties of taking crits because you've already shot.
yeah. But most people they look at the list and then they're like, "Wow, that's a lot of upgrades. That's like 24 upgrades. I'm not reading all those."
Hmm.
And then they're just like, "I'm just gonna joust this list," and I'm like, "That's great," because
Yeah,
this
thank
list
you. Yes, go for it.
jousts harder
Yeah.
than pretty much every other list I've gone against.
Okay, so that leads to my next question. Like, why? Like, what made you build it specifically? Like, what were you looking for? What were you looking at? And just why?
So I'm like an extreme masochist when it comes to X-wing, right? So I like when I love flying scum because they just do a bunch of stupid things, and I enjoy that kind of stuff. And I wanted to create a list with the most amount of triggers I could, and then notice that Scum has a lot of triggers based around red and orange tokens, and then actual payoffs to that. And then I just tweaked the list a little bit to like kind of make it a little bit more viable, like by putting in Babu Frick so I don't get my reinforced jammed off and stuff like that until it just become, oh, Man, this list actually hits really hard, and also it's one of my most fun times playing it because there's just a whole bunch of random, stupid bullshit that's just happening, and I enjoy that, and it's just pure chaos.
So TLDR is because you're a masochist.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've flown so many just random, stupid lists and do well enough with them that I'm just like, cool. This is what I'm flying this year.
It's good mental training being able to go like 5+ rounds playing a list that has the most triggers.
Oh, I it took me like 2 games to get used to it. It's really just that's just how my head works.
Hmm.
I
So
just like
Alex,
decision
how
points.
how does the list hold up today? We've had this meta, besides the tweaks that were made by AMG recently that shook up a couple of things, but not a lot. How is it held up maybe 6 months ago versus today?
It actually got a little bit better. Those tweaks really helped out with his main problems of like Han and Chance and like some saturation salvo sometimes cause some issues.
Oh, Sat Salvo, yeah, for sure.
I mean, most people didn't use it because I'm rolling like 1 die anyways, but Manaru didn't like that. uh, so it does a little bit better. I haven't really played against too many like BOE pilots with it,
Hmm.
Hmm.
but those B wings love stress, and I like it when those B wings have stress. And
Yeah,
like the
it's a lot of
wedge,
torpedoes though, Alex. Like
I know.
taking that's a ton of damage to be taking though, and turns in exchange for like rolling an extra die or something, right? Like I'm curious how BOE factors into this matchup for you.
Yeah. I mean, again, most people just see Afro and they're just like, "Oh, that's really big. I'm gonna, kill it," and then they just bump. I played this list, not like very aggressive, but I am always looking to bump. So I
Yeah,
normally have a lot of just like places where no one can move, and that's when this list shines because well, I move
red
first, and also
focuses.
yeah, and then they have red focuses, so then I just hit even harder.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it
no
is
fair.
very much designed around just area denial and blocking. So after the initial like torpedoes coming in, it gets a lot better. And I'm not serving up a lot of ships just to all the torpedoes. Like they're only going to get 1 or 2 shots coming in,
Yeah,
and it's on
yeah.
Afro.
Again, it's
So
just exposed hull is like the plasma torps is always so scary for
Hmm.
one agility shield, like ships that
yeah,
rely on that first engagement with their shields. Um, Obviously, she has reinforce and stuff like that. But
yeah,
like you
typically
said,
like
it's a
a
lot of health.
reinforce.
So as long as you're avoiding massive spike damage, you can withstand it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Even then, massive spike damage on Afra and Manaru, they can just tank it for a little bit. Like
Yeah,
it's that's kind of why I fly them. They can handle that a lot better than like an arc would.
yeah,
Yeah.
Um, so I haven't played very many like pure alpha strikes 'cause they didn't really exist a lot when I was playing this in like store champs and at crossroads and stuff. So
hmm
I'd be interested to try it. But I'm playing Republic right now in NCX, so I'll have to do
yeah.
it on my own time.
That leads me to: is this your worlds list, Alex? Are you bringing this to worlds?
It's
I
between
mean,
this and
unless you
Ray.
don't feel comfortable saying it, but I don't think it's that big of
Yeah.
a deal to say this is
Oh
what
no,
I'm
I,
planning
I
on
don't
bringing.
care. It's between this one and Ray. I have to do a
Okay.
little bit more testing with just some of the newer lists that are kind of emerging. See how this does against them. But I do love. I have a Ray list, and it just hits super hard. So
Yeah, oh man, Ray will
the
do that for sure.
spike
Yeah.
damage is massively important in X-wing, just in general, but especially right now in this meta. So Ray tends to just delete things. I also have Merle in there, so if you get caught with Merle and Ray, you are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fun combo.
So I'm curious, like you talked about the why. You like Scum. Like is Scum is Scum your favorite faction? Or
Yeah, yeah,
you said you're playing other things like Resistance, right? But it is your number one faction,
yeah.
you would
Scum's
say.
my favorite, followed by like Resistance and Republic.
Okay. So I think that's a good segue to continuing on this path talking about the faction. I like to refer to Scum as having an identity crisis in the game right now. And I want to, everyone's opinion on this. I feel like Scum has really had a rough transition from being a pretty strong and unique 2.0 faction that always sit kind of middle of the rankings and being a competitive faction to being, where it's at now in 2.5. What are your guys' takes on, Scum being less suited? We'll talk about list building in a moment, but more so specifically to objectives, for objectives as a faction.
So, yeah, just they kind of took a hit going into 2.5, right? By just having limited loadouts. That's what kind of killed them, because traditionally Scum was just like bring these bunch of crazy random upgrades together and then make it work from there. And then when you put a cap on that, then things their flaws in the designs of the ships themselves start to emerge. And also, Fang Fighters used to be one of my favorite ships to fly, but right now they are rough, to say the least. It's just the amount of ordnance and offense have dramatically increased since 2.0.
Hmm.
So things like Fang Fighters might, they tend to suffer a little bit just from the increased offense out there. And then putting objectives out there means people are more likely to split their lists, and then they can surround Fang Fighters, and that's really not what you want.
Yeah, just to chime in, I find that Scum was always like really they thrived on being like a faction of a bunch of lone wolves. Like they liked to, I mean, you built a list that can be like kind of like a Rube Goldberg machine of like self-serving and helping each other at the same time.
Mhm.
But typically, that's not really what Scum is known for. They're not known for doing, having abilities related to friendly ships. It's about doing something silly with an enemy ship or doing a lot of damage. In the case of like Fenrau, 5 dice at range 1, 4 dice for defense. And you can go for dealing damage, but when your opponent is like, I have these relatively cheap pieces that are just farming points and still and still dealing damage. One side is doing one of those things. In most other cases, the other side is doing both.
Yeah, Scum, you have to like get some real convoluted ways just to get what normal factions have. Like just even like your normal basic double mods. Like even R5P8, which is just one reroll, it hits you on a crit. Like I've dropped
Yeah.
so many crates just carrying it with Manroot because I ate the crit myself. So it's they just struggle to do what other factions take for granted, and
Which
that's
Yeah.
is yeah.
rough to play in.
I would say, like, when it comes to objectives, though, like Scum does have a little like more large bases than some of the other factions, like relevant large bases. So it's good. It can be really good depending on what the scenario is. The one thing that I think Scum is suffering from too is that there's not that many high initiative ships that are relevant in Scum. The number of I5s, I6s is a lot more narrow than I think a lot of the other factions have, and especially today's like offense forward, high initiative climate that is hurting Scum a little bit. The second thing is Scum is one of the factions that does not have a lot of force users in it. So they're missing out on some
I'm
abilities
trying
to do
Yeah.
scenario actions
Who
and
else
be
besides
protected
Asajj
by that force.
has force? Does anybody else besides Asajj have like force built in? Am I silly? Am I dummy? And I just can't think of it right
I
now.
can't think of anybody else. Yeah.
And that's
Uh,
extended.
right.
Hmm.
I mean, you just have basically the child crew as your kind of that and Maul is your only options.
Yeah.
Only
Yeah.
decent options.
That's a good point, Andrew, the mentioning force because every well, everybody but separatists except for
Separatist
Aura.
has Dooku. Separatist
Oh,
has
Dooku and Aura.
And
Aura and
Maul.
Grievous and
Yeah, Grievous doesn't
no.
have force, but
Oh,
yeah, I
oh,
just think about force users.
yeah,
Separatist
yeah.
is close second in
I
terms of
always
having the
think
least
Grievous is
amount, but they still have some. Maul,
they have
Dooku,
some
you mentioned Dooku.
Maul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Maul, Dooku,
Oh, I guess.
and Aura.
Yeah, I guess Maul does in Scum on the
In the
Yeah,
gauntlet,
in
yeah.
the Gauntlet.
yeah.
You just don't
Oh,
see the
well,
Gauntlet that much.
yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah, Maul exists. That's how little he gets
At
played at that price point.
8 points.
Yep,
He used
that's
to
the
be
problem.
9. He was really in jail.
Yeah,
Now he's halfway out of jail, but still
he's
in jail.
really good. I mean, this is the hard part. We're gonna get to that. I know later in the episode. Hard part about Scum is that it's hard to balance because if you can, it can become too good real quick if you mess with some of the ship points.
Yeah, I think the problem's kind of twofold is that they lack sort of like just double mods or inherent mods in
Hmm.
a way. And then also all their chassis were designed around certain upgrades that are always available to Scum. And now when you take away those upgrades, then the chassis are just flawed. Like that Falcon is useless.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough. Yeah, I mean, in terms of looking at like the other options like Scum is like the most to me when I think of extended. I think of Scum. There's so many ships in Scum that are
Yeah.
extended. The Lancer,
Yes.
the G1, the was it the G1A? That's Forlom's ship, Zuckuss' ship.
Yep.
The Star Viper is an obvious one that we should have in standard that we
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. It's really missing
Um,
that for sure.
yeah, I mean, there's obviously I'm excluding Captain Nim's ship, the Skurg, and many more. I know I'm excluding a few, but those are the ones that come to the top of my mind.
The
And
Curaxis fighter,
The Kirax fighter, yeah,
the
it's another good
Lancer
one.
class pursuit craft.
Yeah, got that
Do you
one.
know how many dirty things you can do with like Katsu and also having the setup with R4B11?
Oh my god, Ketsu is so strong.
It's super silly.
Yeah,
Just pulling people's
um,
tractors to force them to reroll dice.
yeah, and
Yep.
I feel like no other faction is starved more for having their extended counterparts enter standard or like having one of them than Scum. Like I Empire is so strong as they are, Rebels have been and are so strong as they are. And then obviously Republic and Separatists never had extended. Resistance is fine. There isn't really much. I think it's a Star Fortress. Is
Yeah.
that it?
Yeah, that ain't doing it
it
much.
and First Order is fine. They're balanced. Upsilon exists.
Yeah.
But it's
They're not
but
missing
but
it.
Scum is just like to me really stands out in terms of extended options.
Mm-hmm.
And
For
I don't know
sure.
about you guys. I know Andrew, you've been playing extended recently at the game store just because one, you can, and two, because it's a change of pace.
Yeah.
But like I don't really practice extended because I know I can't apply it or use it anywhere.
Yeah.
It just for me because I'm so competitive minded, I don't see the point. But it is fun, and I don't blame anyone for like you for bringing
I
extended stuff to the game store. It's just
look.
I
I
can't
bought all
practice with
these
it.
ships. I want to get them on the
Gosh
table.
darn it, I'm gonna use it.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
no,
use
I
them.
know.
Yeah. But yes, right. There's no like relevant reason to use it.
And
Yeah,
NCX has extended ships. Then that's
yeah.
kind of about
But
it.
just in terms of like, I mean, but yeah, you're playing that for free, right? Which is nice. So there's literally nothing to lose. But when you bring it to the game store, you lose your time
Hmm.
playing it. If you
Yeah.
are trying to practice for something, you should be practicing with stuff you can actually practice with or play with. If you go to a store champ or a tournament, worlds, whatever whatever scale of event you go to, that it's legal. Yeah, I mean it's when I think of extended, I definitely do think of this faction, and I am curious how different the faction would look if they kind of aggressively introduced the Star Viper into the game. I feel like that would be kind of exciting. We'd see a lot more people maybe playing Scum again.
Honestly, if they had the Curax, I think the Star Viper would be a little bit too expensive for this kind of loadout for the
It
role
is
you need.
expensive right now. Yeah,
The,
Yeah.
the
I think Guri
Curax,
is
I think,
7.
it's
Yeah.
actually my fix for Scum is they need a small base ship that has. They need like an X-wing or a B-wing.
I
They
was
need a
thinking
small
that.
base
Yeah. I was
three
thinking
die
that too.
gun ship that doesn't have to live at range 1.
Yes.
Yeah, or doesn't need like a torpedo, like the Y-wings and like the Sikhs like Sarasu, like
Yeah, they
Right.
naturally have a 3 die gun. I need 4
Right.
dice at range 1. That's all I need.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. And that's the X-wing for the Scum faction. There's not that many small base options for Scum that
is predict
are relevant.
is predictability an issue, Alex? Like you mentioned that need to be at range 1. Like when I'm playing against a Fenrau or a Tarok, I know exactly what they're trying to do from the
Yeah.
first turn to the last turn. You can kind of counter that because you're like, well, you need to clear your stress with the 2 hard. You need to get a range 1, so you need to do at least a 3 or 4 speed. Like,
Yeah, if
do you
you
feel the
have
predictability hurts?
yeah,
Boba, right? Needs to be close, stuff like that.
Also, the new bump being able to be shot at range 0 really hurts him too.
Yeah,
Yeah, especially if you're
if
playing
you
Y
ever,
wings.
yeah, Fang fighters are very, very predictable.
Hmm.
Um, like you can catch people out, with them, but once people learn what to do against Fang fighters, they're really not a huge threat. Like there's so many times where I just dumpster a Fang fighter because I have an
Yeah,
RC2. And I'm just like, I'm just gonna shoot you out the rear. Have fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
What would be if you guys could identify if you had to pick? I think we already started this conversation. One fix, to improve the faction. What would that one fix be?
Yeah, I think it really needs some sort of X-wing, just a small base 3-die gun that's not a Fang fighter. It doesn't have to be super fancy like the Star Viper. Give me some sort of just jousting ship, and I think that solves a lot of problems with Scum.
I was going to say the Caraxus is kind of, for me, solves two birds with one stone too, because they have an I5 in there as well, so it does bump up some of the initiative that they have access to as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring up some data. Shout out to our Twitch community who helped me link to this pattern analyzer page here that kind of breaks down factions and faction victories, average initiatives, chassis used, stuff like that. Um, and this is from, looks like it's June 1st of 2023 to just a couple days ago of this year. Um, really interesting, the faction breakdown. You have rebels, empire, and republic taking up a big piece of the pie. But when you look at Scum and Separatists, Scum is at, let's see, it's about just under 10% usage in faction distribution, and Separatists are lower at just under 7%. And that's Rebels, for point of reference for those listening who aren't seeing this right now on Twitch, are at 25%. That's a big leap from the two factions combined to one of the most played factions, Empire at 18.7, and then Resistance and Republic 13% for Republic, 14% for Resistance, FO at 11.7.
Yeah, I love the pattern analyzer site. It's so useful.
It really, it's so pretty too. It really, it's these charts are really, all these colors. It's so nice.
Yeah, they added a new tab. I'm not sure if you noticed. It's got pilots and compositions and upgrades, and it breaks down like which pilots are good with other particular pilots and everything. It's a very well done
Yeah,
data analytics site.
it is. Highly recommend. Shout out to Pattern Analyzer. Looking at faction victories, which is this, to me, this is kind of wild. A Rebel Alliance with 94. Galactic Empire with 76, it looks like. Sorry, the text is super small for me. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Resistance at 73, so just behind Empire is interesting. Republic at 55. Again, this is a relatively, I would say, relatively small sample. Obviously, there's a lot of games are being played this game every day. Not everything's reported. But what really is crazy, so Galactic Republic, known as one of the strongest factions in the game, still at 55, and then you take Scum at 27 and Separatists at 25, and you combine the two, and that's still less wins than Republic. So balance wise, what's interesting to me is that the meta, looking at this data, skews heavily towards four factions, and then FO is on the outside looking in, and then you just have, as Billy Bean would say in Moneyball, there's the good teams, there's the rich teams, there's the poor teams, then there's 50 feet of crap, and then there's us. And I feel like the 50 feet of crap separates CIS and Scum from the other factions. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, one, I think CIS is, they don't have as many pieces to play with that are relevant, which is also hurting it. I also think that, I mean, even in 2.0 and in the beginning of 2.5, they were not a widely played faction. So I think there's just also less people out there that are interested in playing Separatist.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing
Who
that,
are ironically more scummy now than they've ever been in 2.0. They were very swarmy in 2.0 versus
yeah,
what they are
that's
now.
for sure.
Alex, oh, I'm sorry, Andrew, keep going.
Oh no, I mean, yeah, I mean, I was going to say that I think this list that Alex has brought, and I think it's been proven to have an outsized success compared to most of the Scum field. And a lot of people have been having a very hard time making this faction work, and I think that's an open secret.
Yeah, a lot of it's just I can bring Fen Rao, who's a solid piece,
Hmm.
but the other 14 pieces or the other 14 points that I'm bringing around Fen Rao aren't going to carry him. Like they're not going to hide his weaknesses enough to do that. So I think a lot of people are trying a lot of things in Scum and they're like, this is not effective, or this is really difficult to play, or like this is just not how I want to play X-Wing. So they're just kind of bail on it after a while.
Yeah,
And then you just get masochists like me who are just like, no, this is great. The less
Yeah,
people play it, the more they
it
know my
is
list.
the faction for players that want to hit their head against a brick wall till either they or the wall break.
yeah. 58% of recorded games here in this data set are with an average ship count of 5, which overall is the average ship count is 4.8. Round up to 5. It's 5. I thought that number would be a little bit higher than 58% for some reason. It's still high. It's very high. It's high. It's very high, as K2SO would say. Um, I feel like average ship count also hurts because just with an average ship count being higher, that means the average number of shots taken is higher. And you have ships that can't afford to get, Y wings, I4s and below, ships that just can't really afford to be taking that one extra shot. In the last iteration of the meta, we had the average ship count was closer to 4. We still had people bringing 5 ship lists, but it was, we had plenty of people just bringing 4 ship lists. It was
Hmm.
very common. Now it's uncommon to see 4 ship lists. You're expecting at least you expect 5. Do you feel like average ship count plays a role in Scum's, struggles?
Yeah, the more ships on the board, the less those Fang fighters like being out there.
Hmm.
Really, it's just more of a chance they'll get surrounded. I mean, you can't be range one of 5 ships at once, right? So
And even if
it's
you are, you still die.
yes. I mean,
You still die. Yeah. That is the thing, right? Is that unless you're Fen Rao, you can't afford to be at range one of several ships over the course of the entire game. Like unless it's isolated instances where like 4 or 5 times in one game you're taking one range one shot, but 2, 3, like if there are 4 or 5 dice attacks, mathematically you're taking damage even with Concordia. It's even that is tough.
Yeah, I mean the meta before this one, the ship counts I think were even higher. Like it was usually 5 or 6
I don't think
ships.
I don't I
You
disagree.
thought it was less?
It was less for
That's
sure.
hard
The ship
for me to
that's
say.
the
I
main
guess.
the main the main thing with
Yeah, I
this
mean, that
meta
back
is
then I
that.
was flying Empire, so yeah, maybe it
Yeah.
was
You
less
yeah, I mean, to
before.
be fair, in your case, you were playing lists with like a lot of 3 point options and some 4 pointers.
Yeah, that's true.
Now it's like, oh, you have your six
Five
pointer and
is
then
the
you
number
go
for sure.
4, then you go 3, 3,
Yeah.
4 or whatever. Yeah. 5 is definitely the number now. There was just it made sense to see 4 ship lists last meta. Now it's very unless you have a large base.
The problem with Scum 2 metas ago was that they were overcosted. I mean, then you had Fenrau was at 7, Old Turok was 6 points,
Yeah.
and it just didn't make sense to take.
Boba's still 9. I think you could make a case for him being 8, to be honest, but
Yeah,
he's
I
in
think at
jail
this
a little
point
bit
for
too.
sure.
Yeah. Let's talk about the list building side of things now that we're kind of starting to mention points because
Mhm.
it's a really important aspect of Scum that is really frustrating for Scum players. I'm a Scum player as well. I mean, I'm not playing Scum right now just because I can't really practice with it for obvious reasons as we're talking about right now. But um, Scum crew uh, got hit with a lot of nerfs in terms of cost. A lot of the crew the good crew is expensive, as good crew should be. But simultaneously, I'm going to use the Mandalorian as an example. You had a 7 point, crappy chassis i5 pilot in the Mandalorian with like 20, I think it was 20 or 22 loadout, go down to 6 and get his loadout more than halved. And he wants to take that crew and stuff to make him good. But he can't because all that stuff is expensive and he has 10 loadout. So they're like, hey, Scum, we made things cheaper, but we took almost everything away from you in the process. Alex, I'll ask you first. Like, how do you feel about just like loadout is, I think, a really frustrating aspect of Scum list building. But overall, how do you feel about the list building in general?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned before, it's like when you cap their loadout, you cap a lot of the other options you have. That really hurts very many of their ships. But also, like Scumless building is just really awkward. Like the points don't line up very well. Like you have 1 2 pointer, which is fine, but like your 3 pointers are like Lima, and then like it drops immensely to
Hmm.
like Arlee's, maybe. It might be your second best 3 pointer. I mean, because the other ones are like Z95s, which are all garbage, and like Mining Guild ties, which are also all garbage, and like the Escape Craft, and no one's ever flying that anymore. So you don't have multiple threes. Like you're not filling. You don't have a Keo and like a Gemmer and a Wedge, right? You're not.
Right.
You don't have three. You don't. You just have Lima, and then your 4 points are like, well, cool. You have like Dirge and Cad and some of the Fang fighters, and then 5 is like Manharu and kind of Tarok, and 6 is where you start getting all like your bigger, better ships. You got like Fenrau, but like you have like Dengar and Afra, so and like Mando, and it's just like the points don't cobble together very well, and you can't bring Boba, so
Yeah, yeah, you can. Boba, it's interesting because Boba really was such a medicine 2.0. He's so difficult to deal with. He's just his rerolls are so good. The fire spray, we all agree, is I mean, if not one of the best, if not the best, maybe one of the best chassis in the game. And he's in this place where he's at 9 points. You have to build like a kind of a mediocre 4 ship list that is built completely around him. Whereas when we see other 4 ship lists like Ray or Poe and some T70s, for example, yeah, I mean, the centerpiece of those lists might be Ray or Poe, but you still have these strong assets accompanying it that make out a good composition of the list with like Boba, but you can do Boba, Lima, Sarasu, and Gamut if you wanted like a silly double, Alpha Strike double modded Torps list, which I used to play when Gamut was cheaper and Lima was more expensive. That list is worse now because Lima can only take a plasma torpedo, and Gamut Key went up in price with no more loadout and is
Hmm.
incapable of dealing damage and very easy to take off the board. I don't know. I'm not saying Boba, he must be 8, but I feel like if they already cut his loadout, cut it a little bit more, make him 8, and like just do something. I guess in the future when we get a next points change, I'm really hoping that AMG, kind of makes a statement with being like, we hear that you guys say that we hate Scum. It's been the running gag for a long time. We don't completely hate them. We just don't care about them as much. Here's a few changes that are actually good for the faction. That would be nice.
or standard loadout cards. Those would be cool too.
Yeah, an SL card that
Yeah.
gives you easy double mods, as is the trend these days. Just do anything you want, get what you need for cheap. Is what a lot of these over-designed SL cards have been able to do for people.
I mean, right. I was gonna say if any faction's right for a standardized pack, it would be Scum. It'd be an easy way for them to introduce meta relevant pieces and control it to where the faction itself wouldn't be completely broken like overnight. Like you could have if theoretically Boba Fett going down to 7, you know,
7, oh my gosh, I
I
think
mean that
8.
would be
Yeah,
that'd be great. I mean,
wild.
yeah.
That would be
Eight
wild.
eight
He
would
was
be
done.
good. But I mean, but like 7 now, is it too good? Is that an auto include? We just see Boba Fett lists everywhere.
If you made like a SL Boba kind of have an action bar like an SF, right?
Hmm.
So it actually has to physically rotate that turret, but it could be like white, right? Like a
Hmm.
focus link into a rotation, I think would be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You still kind of get like the boost. I mean, maybe don't link it off boost. Who knows? That way you can. So it's only a single arc, but it can rotate. But it's not bad to rotate like an SF. But if it starts bumping, then you're not going to rotate it. That might be pretty interesting.
Yeah,
Or his
yeah. I,
ability
I
to be
think
like charge based.
it definitely,
Yeah.
I feel like the easiest way to tackle this issue is for them to be brought into relevancy by being made relevant by the people who are choosing what is relevant, what is not.
Hmm.
uh,
Right.
they're just ignored, kind of, for the most part, just kind of ignored.
Yeah.
And
I still want to reiterate. It is. I feel of all the factions, because their theme has been individuality, one of just the harder factions to balance because of
yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's a good conversation. It's easy to kind of, I think, chase our tails and go in circles about this, but I think we're all on the
Yeah.
same page about the core issues that we've been able to identify them and bring them to light,
I
for
feel
sure.
like Scum's faction identity could be more of a punching above their weight, like come from behind faction if you want them to make them like the faction of large bases, going down with some of like the jump master, or introducing the lancer class patrol craft, messing with some of the points there, reducing maybe the loadout, but then bringing down the actual ship value so that they become more of a large base, based faction, and being able to field more with the lower initiative, so they're not being as punished.
Yeah, and they kind of seemed like they were like high risk, high reward for a while
Yeah.
with the Fang fighters, but that doesn't really
Now it's just high
work in
risk.
2.5. Yeah, now it's
Yeah.
just like, what are you doing?
High risk, folks. It's just high risk. Yeah. So yeah, I think. Are you guys any last words on the scum discussion before we go on to the questions from our audience section?
I hope people bring Scum to Worlds. It'd be interesting what they
Yeah.
bring.
Yeah.
I'm kind of at a loss for anything that's not really this list.
Yeah. I will say I'll give a shout out to Jammin, in
Yeah,
NCX,
that's fair.
who has been playing a scum list that has been really good for him. I'm not going to dive into it too detailed, but it's two fangs. It's the 4-point fangs, Tor Fun, which is a lower initiative fang that has a chance to bonus attack when receiving damage cards, right? Um,
If he kills another ship, he gets a
if he
perform
kills,
bonus attack.
yeah, sure. So not yeah, when dealing damage cards and killing a ship, and then he also has I'm trying to the other 4-point. It wasn't Cad. It's not Joy. Who am I missing?
Well, it's kind of one of the other two. I mean, it could be like a Mandalorian guard, but those.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's
Or
one of
Cad
them. It's one of
Solus, Joy Wreckoff, Skull
I
Squadron.
think it is Cad Solus. So it's two fangs, and then he has the 3-point Y wings. He's got Arlee's, Hendracian, and Lima Kai, and they have Lima has plasma torpedoes. Arlee's has missiles. I think it's cluster missiles.
That makes
Um,
sense.
and then he has Bosk, and then he has Dace Bonearm
Mm.
with like Lando, and overtune modulators and multi crow, obviously. And basically, what he does is he just puts everybody in one lane, and then Dace holds on to tokens and uses Lando to spend. He re-rolls his dice every single time he shoots or gets shot at. And there's a lot. It's just very efficient for a very cheap price because Dace and the Fangs are all worth 4 points. You have 2 3-point Y wings, and then you have Bosk. Arliza has plasmas. Sorry, not cluster missiles, but yeah. So Arliza and Lima have the plasmas. There's just a lot of tech. It's versatile. It's cheap. It's flexible. And he's bringing that to Worlds. I think he's bringing it to the LCQ.
Well, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he basically tried to make an efficiency list with that, just taking all the most valuable small, cheap ships,
Yeah.
which I can respect. And it's
Yeah.
kind of difficult to fly being a 6-ship list and all kind of like I4s. It'd be interesting to see which list would do better, mine or his, if we just straight joust each other, though.
Oh, that would be fun. That would be. I gotta talk to him about getting that game out. That would be kind of
Just
fun to
straight
watch.
joust.
Just straight
honestly,
joust.
it seems like
Amazing.
the Fang list, it has to have a good first pass, because after the initial joust, that will determine the game, basically. Because after that, then I think that your list has the advantage
Oh, my
if they're
list
not able
also
to take something down.
Yeah.
also eats Fang fighters like crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
right. I mean,
he makes really good use of Mandalorian optics too on both of them. So he sets up a lot of double modded shots with the
Yeah.
fangs as well, which is really
I would
nifty.
say that is a way that you get around that double mod. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're lower initiative, you get your Mando optics, and even if you get blocked or you can afford to just run right into somebody and take a red focus anyways.
Yeah.
If they're in the way, it's cool. It's
That's
a good
great.
list. Yeah, I just wanted to give him a shout out as well because it
Yeah,
seems to be another
no.
list that could turn some heads a little bit for Scum, for a faction that is struggling. But yeah, let's move on to the next segment. So questions from the audience. We had some folks today asking in the Discord. You can go to our Discord, to the 312 Squadron podcast section, and there's a 312 Squadron podcast chat. You can ask questions, talk about the podcast, whatever you want to do. And so JJ asks, which faction will perform worst at Worlds, Scum or CIS? If you had to make a prediction,
The hard thing is, what does he mean worse? Like, because
worst
there's
in
always going
terms
to
of
be.
like, let's go by. It's gonna be obvious for okay. Well, let's go by cut rate. Like who's
Ooh.
which faction is appearing more in day 2? Let's just say that day 2.
There's always some very dedicated CIS players out there that
Yeah,
always
yeah.
do super
Yeah.
well and make cut.
This is a tough one because CIS does have some lists that just are able to output a ton of crits, like the FO, and they can trick some people up because they just, it's one of the factions that you just don't play against that often.
Yeah.
I am going to vote. I'm going to say that CIS, though, will do worse in terms of day 2.
Huh. I think I'm saying Scum. I'm thinking about like Django and Dirge and these things that are like tough to kill that are pretty
Yeah.
grievous. Alex?
Unless everyone just auto concedes to me, I think Separatists will be doing better. Unfortunately, it's just because the people who are very dedicated and very good with Separatists are very, very good at this game,
Yeah.
and they can go pretty far with that.
Sandy asks, what pilot will make final table? I said, and I added, for both sides. So if you had to make a prediction, name 2 pilots that would be a cornerstone of each list. What would your predictions be?
I am going to say Kylo Ren, and then on the other side,
Let's bookmark this, by the way.
I'll go
Let's remember this.
Darth
Okay.
Vader.
Okay.
Which chassis on both of those, I guess.
Whisper or Silencer?
Oh,
What do you think?
I'm gonna go Silencer Kylo,
And
then
Vader Defender?
yeah.
Oh man,
X1. I'll do X1 Vader.
Yeah. Starter set Vader.
Sure.
Okay. Alex, what about you?
Is it a cop out to say boy Luke? It kind of is, but
I feel like SSP Vader. If that's a cop out, I mean, like I guess it all.
Yeah,
lumps into the same.
honestly, boy
I
Luke
can't
is the
fault
SSP
Andrew
Vader.
for saying SSP Vader, so I can't fault him for saying it. So I can't fault you for saying boy
literally
Luke.
most popular.
I'm gonna say
no. I'm gonna go say Ello and Malorus. We'll just have fun.
Ooh, I like that.
Ooh.
Okay, I'm gonna say Battle Over Endor Wedge, and oh man,
Malorus was the safer pick for sure.
yeah. I'm gonna go with I think I'm gonna predict that we're gonna get Rebel versus Empire. So I'm gonna go with Battle Over Endor Wedge, and then I mean, if you want to talk about an ultimate cop out, guys, SL Tomax. It's the ultimate cop out for sure. But I'm not gonna say SL Tomax. I'll say Soontir. Battle Over Endor Soontir. Battle Over Endor Wedge.
Ooh, that's spicy.
It'd be really wild to see Battle Over Endor make final table on both sides. AMG would love to see that for sure. That would be a dream for them.
Well, they've set it up to almost be
possible. Yeah, very possible. I mean, dude, I've been playing BOE Soontir. He is incredibly strong.
Yeah, I was like those cards just seem so strong.
Dude, being able to throw yourself right into the belly of the beast and be like, okay, I'm gonna barrel roll out of arc now.
Yes.
Like it doesn't matter where you put Soontir in a lot of cases. It's wild.
How would BOE Soontir do against my list?
Well, you got big fire. I think it would be Soontir would be really easy for Soontir to get 3 or 4 hits every single time he takes a shot.
Sure.
That's one thing. He does need Palpatine though, or a Vizier to coordinate both. In that case, he can't do anything with his blanks. He's still 3-hole. So if he is taking shots, he's got to be mindful of that. But he will be getting a full string when he gets no escape and his own reroll.
Mm-hmm. Watch out for Dengar.
Yeah,
like Gunner.
Also,
list.
when he takes a deplete, like he has to be mindful of that too. He takes a deplete to do his ability. You can spend that token.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that would be interesting. I would definitely pay to watch that for sure. Charlie asks a very serious question: should dice cups be legal? Jokingly, because Nicholas God, who is the current world champion, in his infamous final salvo, aka road roll to break the tie, he was using his dice cup the whole game and revealed the winning roll to win worlds with his dice cup.
It was very dramatic. No, I don't think they should be illegal at all. I think they're fine.
I hate dice cups. Honestly,
It should be a felony.
Really?
They're loud.
Oh yeah, I mean they're loud. I kind of like them just because they keep the dice contained in one area, and you're less likely to accidentally hit chips and stuff.
But how am I supposed to
Yeah.
cheat if I can't hit my opponent's chips with dice?
Right.
There you go. Yeah.
I use my little J.R. Tolkien little wood dice tray.
Mm-hmm.
I love that thing. So that answers that one. And then I don't know. Somebody anonymously asked, "Why is Nick so handsome?" Which I thank you makes me blush.
Ooh.
I
Yeah.
didn't write that in myself at all. It was really just something that I got an anonymous email asking about, and so we're
Just say
asking. So
genetics. Yeah.
I thank my mother and my father for that one. That's why I am just so handsome. Apparently, thank you for that. So much. Thank you so much. Not me that wrote that.
The warm
Um,
Chicago sun.
the question is why are the real question is why are Alex and Andrew so handsome? Less about me, more about them. That luscious beard that Alex has, and Andrew just being the handsome devil he is.
Oh, thank you.
Producer
I was gonna say,
extraordinaire.
yeah, just just our parents and genetics as well. Yeah, come drop a line in the chat.
Alex, you still got the same beard that I know from Crossroads.
Yeah, it's pure laziness, really, is what that is. It's about
Oh,
2 years now, I
man.
think, actually. So
Oh, nice.
It's funny, Andrew. When I was streaming with Matt Carey at Crossroads, and we mic up the players, right? And Alex has this big beard. It's a legit beard, and it completely covers the lav mic.
Yeah,
So like it does sound like Alex is very far away when he talks, and it's
yeah.
right next to his mouth, but it's the beard. The beard is
You
a
gotta.
beard great
y-
way to block off sound.
I was gonna, and also, I mean, at least it wasn't like hitting the mic. Otherwise, you got to clip the lav mic into the beard.
Into the beard. Yeah, that would be really not comfortable for for Alex at all. We did not have to do that. Oh man. All right, well, guys, before we do the outro, any last words here for episode 12?
I don't know. Thanks for inviting me on. It was exciting. It's fun to
Yeah,
talk about Scum. Fun to be on other podcasts.
yeah. We're so happy to
Yeah.
have you.
Yeah, it was a long time coming. We talked about this a while ago.
I guess, is there anything that you want to plug, Alex, before we move to the outro?
Well, I have my own podcast. That's the Bespin Benchwarmers. We update when we update. It's I like the podcast a lot. We talk a lot about like why people are building lists and how they're used. It's more of a philosophical kind of look at like the thought process behind why people are bringing what they're bringing.
Yeah.
And I should probably also shout out the other podcast I'm on, Planning Phase Syndicate,
Yeah.
weekly every Sunday.
JJ and Tanner.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, make sure to check that out. The last thing that I want to say is that if you are going to Worlds, or if you have ideas that you think can fix Scum, come onto our Discord and let us know what you think.
Absolutely.
Because I'm really interested in hearing, what our community has to say as well.
And come say hi to Andrew and I. We'll be at Worlds. You won't miss us because we'll be wearing our
Yes.
Worlds 312 shirts. That awesome swag that we got. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode. I do want to really quickly thank our proud partner and sponsor, StrataStrike. You can check them out on Etsy. They make a ton of incredible gaming components. My favorite thing that they do are these awesome wood carved templates and tokens. I have an amazing set of Scum wood templates in an amazing magnetic template tray that they are in that I use whenever I play Scum, which I try to do from time to time. You can use discount code 312 Squadron. That's 312 capital S, lowercase QUADRON, for 15% off your entire purchase on anything on StrataStrike's Etsy store. Also, as Alex shouted out, you guys should check out the Bespin Benchwarmers and Planning Phase Syndicate. We'll link both of those in our description here for the episode. But be sure to follow us on Twitch. If you want to catch us live, you can catch edited content on our YouTube channel. You can like us on Facebook for updates, jump into the Discord for conversations, talking about the podcast. And lastly, this would not be possible without our patrons. There is a running meme about us being called $31. So here at $31, we want to thank Martin, Jesse, Benjamin, Kevin, Mike, David, Dean, Digikind, William, Dale, Matthew, Adam, Brendan, Michael, Justin, John, also Mark from StrataStrike, Joshua, Daniel, Alex, Stephen, Matt, Peter, Andrew, and Scott. That is a lot of names. And because of a lot of those names and all of you who have supported us on Patreon, those of you that support us in our Discord, watch us here on Twitch, YouTube, everything. We cannot do this without you. Thank you so much. And thank you to our patrons, especially. All right, my name is Nick Sperry.
And I'm Andrew Kuba.
And I'm Alex Merrill.
And we will talk to you all and see some of you very soon.
See you at Worlds.